Yep. No, I think I've got a bit of a way I can lead in on that.
So what's the question, Biggar? No.
You know, for Dave Biggar to get his head into a project as deep as I do, it needs to actually be a product that I know I'm personally going to live and use. For me specifically, when I start putting myself and having that vision of, you know, I've got my 2 young boys on the boat, I've got my wife on the boat, and you just start putting yourself in all the scenarios. What's it look like when I'm out in the ocean on a good day? What's it look like when I'm in the middle of the ocean and there's a storm coming, a big system coming, and I need to be able to get away from that system? What does it look like when we're at anchor and we've got friends on the boat? What does it look like through a bunch of scenarios? I sit here and I talk a lot about performance, weight, strength. They are all super important things that are at the top of the list, but are they important things for my wife? Are they the most important things to my kids? You know, maybe they will be, but they're not going to be at the top of their list. I need to make sure that when my wife gets on this boat that she is comfortable and she is saying things like, this is awesome and I want to keep going around the world, because the biggest problem that a lot of people have is they'll get their family on the boat and the family may not appreciate cruising life. And it's one of the really unique things with this Cure 55. The interior volume, I would say, actually almost matches big volume boats. It's a very beamy boat. There's no two ways about that. It's 8.7 metres wide. So the living space in the cockpit and the saloon, I would almost say, is unmatched. The visibility in this boat, from being able to see at the helms and inside the boat, I would say is unmatched. It's then that build and the build quality. This is a no compromise boat. It's completely made out of carbon fibre, every single component. It comes with a carbon fibre mast as standard. The sails, they need to be 3DI. They are the best sail technology in the world. The boat has to be gasless for number one point of view from safety. So we've got big lithium systems and we've got a cabin top that is big enough to get the required amount of solar on it for us to be able to replenish that battery bank every day. I just do not want to be worrying about how much power and are we using too much. Has the boat got enough storage to store all of our equipment? We got huge amounts of volume in the bows and in the lazarettes in the back to store surfboards, electric powered mountain bikes, electric powered motorbikes, good ability to store decent tenders off the back. This is designed to get us across oceans, get us to new continents, and be able to explore those continents for everything that they are and go to the places that most people can never go to. We've got all the makings there for what we believe is going to be the most high-performance, all-round 55-foot cruising boat in the world. I think really when I look back now, I had this interesting background of getting into sailing at a young age, but also having a father that was in, I guess, a bunch of unique, higher-performing sports. He was heavily into motorsport, motor racing. He was into aviation, but was also, you know, right into sailing and boats and everything that was there. But, you know, since I could probably crawl, I grew up mucking around in his shed where he was either making something lighter or stronger or just making something try and go faster. And that was, you know, I witnessed him getting bolts out and putting them in a lathe and drilling the inside of bolts out to make a bolt lighter. And I think, you know, understanding sailing as you get into racing and understanding it's not just you, it's your craft, and you got to have the best equipment to win. And, you know, you can push this equipment and you can break it, and you got to fix it. And it's all of those types of things, I guess, through my early years up till I was 20, where that's what I was doing inherently. I didn't know, it's just what I was doing, but I developed this great passion for sailing and for making sailing boats and or anything out of composites, where I actually knew that the competitive edge was from making something lighter and stronger. And when I can focus and put time and vision into going, I think we can make a product better than anybody else in the world by me making a product right now, that is where I go in business, and that's where I end up going for the challenge. I was keeping an eye on the performance cruising catamaran market, and I could see 18 odd years ago, that there was some traction starting to build. And I thought, well, maybe my way into the boat building would be that I fund and I build a 40-foot performance sailing catamaran, a shonning, and then I'll sell it, make some money and do it again. So I found a couple of good boat builders on the Sunshine Coast and we formed a bit of a team. We had a really good period there where we had a run of building a bunch of high-performance catamarans. Back then, high-performance catamarans were a lot more niche than they are in today's market. So we really sort of took this turn and started really trying to figure out how we could be manufacturers of sandwich panel to the Australian market, and got a really good understanding for the truck market and the caravan market. And that's where I developed a business called Zone RV. We started manufacturing a full composite caravan, really treating it much like a boat, to be honest. Light interiors, modern interiors, all bundled up in a lightweight composite box. We've built that business up into a big business now. We've got, I think, over 250 people across a few different sites building caravans, and arguably building some of the best caravans in the world. I know for a fact we're the only company in the world building a full carbon fibre caravan. We've got our caravans going to all different places in the world now. And that's been a really good thing because that business has allowed us to invest heavily into a bunch of different areas. We've got other big composite facilities that, we're pushing on there. It's sort of all of these things that have really given us a grounding and a good backing to be able to look at the marine industry again. We've continued building boats through this whole period. We've built 50s, we've built 60s, we've got 70s on build at the moment. And, the boats are just a thing that are a real passion for me. They'll probably never won't be. They're a challenge in every case, and I just love that. But they probably sit in that bracket of being the best adventure tool in the world. My passion has always been about pieces of adventure equipment that I mightn't necessarily be able to go and buy if I wanted to, whether that's a caravan, whether that's a boat, whether that's an aircraft. And I think the Cure 55 has this really cool story there, because about 2 years ago, I was in a position to be able to start going, well, I want a really cool 50 to 60 foot sailing catamaran, had a really good trawl around the global market and had a look whether there was something I could get. Was there even a builder out there that I could go and pay another yard to put something together? That would have been a potential option for me. I wasn't saying that I had to build it, but at the end of the day, I really couldn't find that second hand or really a new high performance boat. And I think performance cruising catamaran terminology gets thrown around a little bit too loosely in today's market, especially when I had a background of building 50 to 60 foot performance cruising boats that sit, we've built 52 foot cruising boats that are 6.5 ton. We've built 60 foot cruising cats that are 10.5 ton. We're building a full carbon 70 footer at the moment that will be about 14.5 ton. And that to me is performance cruising boats. Really, I think if I look at the mid 50 foot market at the moment and any of the boats coming out of Europe or Asia or the States, it feels like, a 55 foot boat out of any of those areas. It's probably more like a 14 or 15 ton boat. And unfortunately, in my criteria, that is not a performance cruising boat. I know that a 15 ton, 55 foot boat does not perform to how I would probably expect a high performance cruising catamaran. And that's when I sort of knew, well, we're just going to have to go and build our own boat. There's probably a very high chance that if I build my own boat to the criteria that I knew I wanted, I'm generally not the only person that would want that boat. I told this plan to Ian, and Ian never really takes too much encouraging when it comes to building a high performance cat. He gets excited pretty easily, and he said, yeah mate, I'm in on that. Let's invest and let's do this thing properly.
I've been building boats well over 20 years now, ranging from monohulls, catamarans, trimarans, all composite based, all custom built. Fairing, painting, gone through that whole process right down to engine install, interior fit out, plumbing, the whole lot. After 20 odd boats under my belt, I've got it down pat of what and what not to do and where to achieve the best goal of like weight, save time. And the installation process has just completely been cut down. But to get there, you need good builders, good eye for detail, and being able to follow plans, right down to, QA, sign off. And lucky for us at Kiel Marine, we have them, especially these days where it's pretty hard to get good guys. This build, the 55, it's going to be the lightest, strongest, highest quality boat that I've ever built.
So I guess from a design perspective, we start with CAD and we start, modelling in CAD for all of the teams to sit around and look at what we are trying to build. It's very easy to draw in CAD to sort of 60%. It's extremely challenging to get to 90% and to reach 99 to 100%, which I call to the rivet or the screw, is really challenging. I would say this 55 is one of those projects where we are going to the nth degree. We want to know how this thing is going to work. We then start looking at, the processes, the in-computer systems where we're sort of making the inventory flow, the workflow, the management flow. And that to me is a really important part of meeting time schedule and budget. It's all of those systems after you've created the digital twin that sort of create the outcome. And then after that, I think it's looking at the pieces of equipment we need to be able to make that. The synergy between our group of companies in Coolum on the Sunshine Coast is something that I probably never dreamed would have happened in the manner it has happened. We've got some of the coolest bits of manufacturing equipment going around. The one big piece of equipment that I'm very proud of at the moment is our huge 3D printer. We've got the biggest 3D printer in the Southern Hemisphere. It's 22 metres long, 5 metres wide, and 2 metres high. We can print an 80-foot yacht hull in that, and it's not just a printer. It can print, but it also has 5-axis milling capability. So the accuracy we can get in this big cell is unbelievable. And it's really just a big piece of equipment that makes us get from a digital CAD model to real life, as in making the moulds, which then allow us to make our carbon fibre parts in record speed. And I think it's probably pretty fair to say that the Kiel Marine production line is completely off-grid. We are building your Kiel 55 very sustainably. And sustainability is a big thing for me, like for anybody that loves adventuring the world and experiencing the wilderness or trying to find true wilderness. It's about going, well, how are we going to maintain this for the next generations to come? And I think manufacturing at the moment is an exciting place to be. Technology is moving very quickly. It's the challenge of linking technology with technical people on the floor and really making that stuff dance.
Yeah, working at Kiel Marine, it's a fantastic place to work. It's got a very good culture, and that culture starts with the guys who own the business. They are people who love to invest in the businesses that they operate. They love to make sure that the people in those businesses feel well looked after, that they've got the tools, the equipment, whatever they need to be able to get the job done. The team at Kiel Marine is building itself to be one of the best teams in the world when it comes to manufacturing high performance, lightweight performance catamarans. Guys that have worked for some of the globe's biggest manufacturers, people out of China, out of France, and they've worked on America's Cup boats, they've worked on some of the biggest super yachts in the world. And we've got designers that have built the Kiel 55 who have worked on America's Cup boats, Sydney to Hobart winners, and they have decades and decades of experience. So the design of this boat and the people who are putting it together are second to none. So my background is in running businesses of varying sizes across different industries. And I've run businesses from under $100 million in revenue with only a few staff to over $100 million in revenue with over 150 staff. I really enjoy getting into a business, understanding it, figuring out all the moving parts and figuring out how to make that business really hum. I'm someone who's always believed in process and systems in the way that you execute a business, in the way that you get quality in anything that you do. This boat is built with that philosophy in mind. The systems we're using means that everything is tracked, everything talks to all the other bits. So whether that's the people on the floor, whether that's the 3D scanning, robots that might be milling something to within a very specific tolerance, all the way through any boat that someone buys, so much so that a buyer can access this as it's happening. They can see the stage that their boat is up to. They can see pictures of their build as it goes through. So the data is absolutely fantastic. I think the QR55 has found its place in the market really well. There's no other boat which is full carbon fibre all the way through that is as light and as strong and has the performance characteristics of the 55 with the type of layout and 360 view you've got from the saloon at this type of price point. In fact, I can't think of another boat at any price point that really hits the mark as well as this boat.
2 years on from when we really started bringing the concept of the QR55 out of the ground, we are probably at 90% digital twin completion. We have all of the molds complete and we've pretty well got all of our processes defined. I personally couldn't be happier with the team, with the equipment, with the facilities that we've got coming. We are in a very good place. The market and the people that we are selling these boats to, I would say, are fitting straight down the barrel of who I thought they would suit. That to me is really good validation. I think we've hit the boat on the head. I mean, I know there's plenty of boats in this cruising, high performance cruising bracket. I think I'm feeling very comfortable that I made the right decision 2 years ago to embark on this project, because I feel like we are at the top of the tree for, bringing compromise into it. That's evaluating via budget, weight, strength, comfort, performance, off-grid capacity. I think, our rating across all of those is very good, and I couldn't be happier to be getting into a QR55 because I think it's going to be the perfect boat.